Alright, hello everybody. So today I'm going to be going over all of the unique shotguns in the Borderlands 2.5, just like I've done with the shotguns, pistols, and rocket launchers. So it's going to be episode 4, and it's going to be shotguns. And again, we're just going to start with the bandit ones here. Yeah, I should actually go down here. Alright, so the first one here we have the Agni, and this one spawns with multiple different barrels, or it can spawn with different types of barrels, so it won't always be a bandit barrel. And that can impact the pellet count and the fire rate quite a bit, actually, on this weapon. So, like, if you have a Hyperion or a TDR barrel, this will only have one projectile. And you see the way it fires? It's going to fire a shot that then splits, similar to the Becca. So I'm going to go in here, and you see it's the 3 projectiles there. But then you see there's it's kind of hard to see, but you see there's a few more, quite a few more than 3 projectiles there. And you see that with the damage too. You see 35, 32. And then looks like there's an 1883, a 392, and a 392 there as well. Yeah, so that's the Agni. Here's the Nebula. And this has a very high mag size, very high damage, projectile count, and then the fire rate is somewhat high for a bandit shotgun. It's got a 2-round burst. And it fires kind of these E-Tech projectiles, and those do have splash damage. You can see right there. And even though it's an E-Tech, this weapon can come as non-elemental. In which case, I think it will do explosive splash damage. And then the Daimonji, I think is how that one is said. Another bandit barrel shotgun. And this one will always have bandit barrel as far as I know. And it's 3-round burst, and I'm going to actually go in here so the bullet decals show up. It kind of fires in this cross X sort of symbol here. Yeah, so you can see it's almost like a stick figure projectile pattern there. But that's the Daimonji. And then the B rated here. You see it's got very low pellet count and only 4 shots. And pretty high damage as well. And so this one it's basically just a splat gun that has 4 projectiles instead of 1. Or I think actually instead of 3. Yeah, bandit splat guns have 3 projectiles. So this doesn't really have any special effects other than being a really strong bandit splat gun. Alright, so we have the M90 here. And this is the last bandit shotgun. And you can see it's got a decreased pellet count. Well, you can't see it on these because these all have a pretty low pellet count. But for most bandit barrel shotguns, it would be about 14 projectiles. And while it does have Hyperion barrel, its stats are closer to a bandit barrel. So that's what I'm going to compare it to. This one actually has an additional 200% melee damage here. So, and it always spawns with the blade, and that blade's in the second accessory slot, so you can actually get 2 blades on it. So instead of doing 200% melee damage, it's 250% melee damage. And so, like, this is 2127, which is the regular blade, and then the 4963 there. And it's got pretty slow reload. Yeah, it's about the same as the rest of the bandit shotguns actually. But yes, that's the M90 there, and that is the last of the bandit shotguns. So next is going to be Hyperion. So the first one here is the interference. You can see the lower pellet count and then the higher fire rate. And what this one's going to do, so after it travels for a certain distance, it's going to spawn extra fire projectiles there. And they kind of wave up and down as they travel. So if you're too close to the target, you will actually, here, let me clear the dot. If you're too close, you won't get the fire damage. So you want to be a little bit further away, and you'll get the fire damage and non-elemental damage there. And I believe that this one is always non-elemental. So next is the Defibrillator here, which, as far as I know, so its stats are very close to what the Butcher is. But when you shoot them, it's going to plant like those little needles that explode for about 1/10 of the damage. And the shots can score crits, but the stickies will actually get the increased critical hit damage there. You see the 16 or 168k instead of, I think it was 60k before. Yeah. So that's the Defibrillator. Next here's the Blunderbus, and this is basically a slow hand, but it fires cannonballs. That's kind of all there is to it. And there's the Chaos, and you see only 2 projectiles per shot, so it's got a much lower projectile count than most shotguns. But as it travels, it's going to fire projectiles out at like 45-degree angles there. See if I can get them to hit this guy. But you can see that when it hits the target, it does actually shoot those projectiles off, because this should really only be doing about 300,000 damage, and you can see, well, it's 300,000 there, but see the 689 and just to the 172. So that's the Chaos there. And then there is still even more Hyperion shotguns. Only 2 though. So the Tramp, this one can again have different shotgun barrels, which will change your pellet count quite drastically and the ammo per shot. It's got a very high dot chance for a shotgun and a very high fire rate for a shotgun. That's really all there is about that one. And then the Railer, this is lower pellet count, increased damage, and it fires lasers. Alright, and that's all for the Hyperion, so on to the Jacob shotguns here. So the Behemoth, this, see, extremely low fire rate, very high mag size, 5 ammo per shot, and then 52 pellets a shot. And it's got an awful projectile speed. And then the extremely slow reload. And then we have the Nighthawk here, which has very low pellet count for a double barrel Jacob shotgun. But it's slag. And when you shoot the floors or a wall or whatever, it's gonna ricochet off into, not quite sure how many projectiles. I think it doubles up to 12 projectiles when it splits. See the 55-12 that didn't hit. Yeah, 57-88 right there. So I think it doubles the projectiles when it hits the surface. Next is the Olympian, and 26 projectiles per shot, 2 ammo per shot, and then very, very slow fire rate, even slower than the Behemoth. And it fires in the shape of the number 1, and it deals explosive damage. And I don't think it has explosive splash. Yeah. So that's the Olympian. And then next here is the Jacob's Musket, which again is lower projectile count for a double barrel. 3 ammo per shot rather than 2. And you see the curse here, an old man once told me, with great power comes great sacrifices. And so, if you see my health down there, it takes away about 800,000 health, so about a third of your health while you hold this weapon. But it has pinpoint accuracy. You see that there, and then also it's extremely high crit damage. See 1696 there with a crit, 8991. So it's doing over 5 times the damage when you score a critical hit. And then next we have the Flintlock and the Greed. Now the Flintlock here, it's really just a Jacob's or a Bandit barrel Jacobs shotgun. As far as I know, there's not really any special effects to it, other than like it's got a fixed spread pattern to a degree. You can see that circular spread. So yeah, it's always going to shoot in that kind of like the 1 in the middle and then the 4 there and the 2 and the 4. So that's the Flintlock. And then the Greed has increased crit damage, and it's only 2 ammo per shot instead of 3, and then has increased fire rate and then increased projectile count. And so you see, like, this one is only 6 million. Like, I'm talking about the price here, so it's only $6 million, 700,000. This one is 14 million. So this one sells for quite a bit of money. And you can see that it does about triple damage on a crit. But that's all for the Jacob shotguns. Now we've got Tedior. Alright, so first one here is the Frankenstein. And this one, it has a chance to fire twice. And then when you ADS, it's a 3-round burst. And it's kind of random because it's got that double shot chance there. But you can see it fires gyro jets like a Torgue shotgun. So you can see a splash there, even though I'm not hitting him. So this is more like a Torgue shotgun than it is a TDR shotgun. Although you do still reload it like a TDR. So that's the Frankenstein. Then you read the 76, which has only a single projectile and fires grenades. which explode into a nuke and have a much lower blast radius than you would think. And it also uses 3 ammo per shot. And then when you reload, it splits into those 2 little smaller projectiles which explode. And next is the Predator, which only has 2 projectiles per shot. And when you reload it, it floats in place like a little turret and shoots them. And then explodes and hurts you. The explosion there has a pretty big radius, actually. So if you throw it too close to yourself, you are going to hurt yourself, but you can also use it to hit enemies with the explosion. And the bargain here. So this fires in that cross pattern there. And other than that, it's just kind of an E-Tech TDR shotgun. It's also got a very slow fire rate. And very high mag size as well. And this can come as non-elemental, even though it's an E-Tech. So, and I think then it does explosive damage. And the last TDR here is the Gusher. You see it fires like the E-Tech projectiles there. Let me clear the dot damage there. I don't think this has a special effect, but I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go check real quick. Okay, no, so it's just a pretty good shotgun. Also has a very high dot damage. You see that the bargain's only got 141k. This one is 662,000. That's all the TDR shotguns, and then we've got Torg here. Actually, I'm going to save that one for last. So we have the Melt-A-Gun first, and this one has very high damage and then only 7 projectiles. And even though it has a Torg barrel, only uses 1 ammo per shot. And Easy's got a decreased reload speed. Actually, no, it's got faster reload speed. My mistake. I thought this had a slower reload speed than normal Torg shotguns. It does not. And you see it fires the entire mag in one burst. So when you pull the trigger, it's going to fire the whole magazine all at once. And you can see there that it fires rockets. And this is also a fire-locked weapon. So that's the Melt-A-Gun. And so here we have the War Game, and this one can spawn with barrels other than Torg, so it can spawn with any of the 5 shotgun barrels, which will change your pellet count and your ammo per shot. And it fires in a 3x3 grid pattern there. Kind of like a tic-tac-toe board, which is why it's a reference to the War Game movie. And it's got a very, very slow reload speed. But also has higher mag size, fire rate, and I think the projectile count's actually the same. Let me go buy ammo real quick. Okay. Next here we've got the Buzzsaw. But as you see, it's only 2 projectiles. And very high base damage. But it fires these saw blades. And they don't actually have drops. They'll just fly straight forever. Also, seems like they can score crits. Yeah, they can score crits. I don't know that scoring crits actually increases the damage it deals, though. Yeah, so it can score crits, but the crits don't actually do any higher damage, as far as I can tell. Or maybe they do. Here, I can test it by... Let me just... Okay, so they do higher... They deal higher damage on a critical hit. That's the Buzzsaw. And then last one here is the Party Popper. And so you can see it fires those... So it says it's only 3 projectiles. But as you saw right there, that is a lot more than 3. So if you fire at close range, you're going to get 2494. If you stand back here and fire it, 6652, 4989, 831. That was even higher damage there. And I'm going to actually go outside real quick because I'm not quite sure how much they spread out. It looks like they have no limit to the amount of projectiles that can spawn. Or actually, it did look like it stopped splitting there eventually. So yeah, that's all of the shotguns in the mod. Thanks for watching the video, and then I think next episode I'll do SMGs.